God knows you are tired. And I don't mean just the kind of tired that a nap can fix. I mean the soul-worn, bone-weary, silent battle kind of tired. The kind that weighs down on you even when your face is smiling and your hands are busy. You carry burdens no one else sees. You cry tears no one else hears. You walk through storms no one else knows. And even though the world demands strength from you every single day, inside you are whispering to God, how much longer can I keep going? There are moments in life when the weight becomes unbearable. You reach the edge of your own strength. Your prayers feel like they bounce off the ceiling. You wait and nothing changes. You beg for answers, but silence replies. You reach out, but it feels like God is far away. But I came to tell you today, with every ounce of faith in my spirit, God sees you, God knows your pain, God understands your weariness, and God has not forgotten you. You may not see the hand of God moving, but you must trust that He is. When the nights are long and the pain is deep, God is working behind the scenes. When you feel like you have nothing left, God is still pouring out His strength. When you're crying on your pillow and no one knows, God collects every tear. He is not blind to your struggle, and He is not deaf to your prayers. The silence of God does not mean the absence of God. The silence of God does not mean the absence of God. You must learn to pray even when it hurts. You must learn to trust even when you don't understand. You must learn to wait when your soul is screaming for answers. This is not weakness, this is strength. Strength is not always loud. Sometimes strength is the quiet decision to keep going, to keep trusting, to keep believing that God is still in control. There is a reason God allows us to feel this tiredness. Sometimes God will allow the storm to rage to teach us that peace is not found in calm waters, but in trusting Him during the chaos. Sometimes God will let everything fall apart to show us He is the only one holding us together. God does not promise us a life free of burdens, but He promises that His power is made perfect in our weakness. And that weakness you feel, it is the very doorway through which God will pour His strength. God is never late. He is never distracted. He is never unsure. He is not pacing the floors of heaven wondering what to do about your situation. He has already seen the end from the beginning. He already knows how your story ends. And even though it may feel like you are walking through the valley alone, God is walking beside you. Every breath you take in the middle of your pain is a testament to the strength He is giving you to endure. When you are tired, pray, not because prayer changes everything instantly, but because prayer anchors your soul to the one who never changes. Prayer is not always about answers. Sometimes it's about alignment. Sometimes God delays the breakthrough to deepen your faith. Sometimes God says, wait, not because He is withholding something from you, but because He is preparing something greater for you. You see, there is power in the waiting. Waiting on God is not wasted time. Waiting is where trust is refined. Waiting is where character is built. Waiting is where pride is stripped away. In the waiting, you are not being punished. You are being positioned. Positioned for a greater glory, a deeper faith, and a more unshakable trust in God. The world may rush you, people may forget you, and your mind may betray you, but God remains steady. God remains faithful. The tiredness you feel today is not the end of your journey. It is a turning point. It is a sign that something in you is being stretched. Something in you is growing. God uses the weariness to bring you to your knees, not to destroy you, but to remind you where your true strength comes from. When you reach the end of yourself, you have reached the beginning of God's power. Do not let your tiredness make you forget who your God is. God is the sustainer of the weak. God is the healer of the broken. God is the restorer of the worn out. You may feel empty, but He is full. You may feel lost, but He knows the way. You may feel forgotten, but He has written your name on the palm of His hand. Even when you can't trace His hand, you can trust His heart. Your feelings may lie, your thoughts may falter, your body may fail, but God is unchanging. He has never abandoned you before, and He won't start now. The night may be dark, but the dawn is coming. You are not stuck. You are being shaped. You are not abandoned. You are being anointed. God has not turned His face from you. He is closer now than ever before. Do not give up because you are tired. Get closer to God because you are tired. Fall into Him, cry to Him, speak to Him, even if all you can say is, "Help me." That prayer whispered from the depth of your soul shakes the heavens. God does not require eloquence. He requires sincerity. He does not demand perfection. He responds to faith. And faith is not always loud. It's the quiet decision to keep praying, to keep trusting, to keep waiting. Some of you are carrying weights that were never yours to carry. You are trying to be everything for everyone, trying to solve every problem, trying to hold your life together in your own strength. But God did not create you to be the savior of your world. God wants you to surrender that burden, lay it at His feet, let Him carry what you cannot. He is not asking you to figure it all out. He is asking you to trust Him while He does. Your breakthrough may not come today, your answer may not show up tomorrow, but every time you choose to pray instead of panic, trust instead of tremble, and wait instead of worry, you are planting seeds of faith. And in due season, God will bring the harvest. He will show you why you had to wait. He will reveal the reason behind the silence. He will make all things beautiful in His time. Even when your knees are trembling and your hands are shaking, stand firm in your faith. God has never failed, not once, and He won't start with you. You may be tired, but you are not defeated. You may be weak, but you are not worthless. You may feel broken, but you are still in the hands of the potter. And the hands of God do not destroy, they rebuild, they reshape, they renew. So pray. Even if your voice is trembling, pray when you don't feel like it. Pray when your heart is heavy. Pray when you feel like giving up. Because prayer connects you to the power that is greater than anything you face. When you pray, you are declaring that God is still in control. When you pray, you are making war in the spiritual realm. When you pray, mountains begin to tremble and chains begin to break, even if you can't see it yet. And after you've prayed, wait, don't run ahead of God. Don't try to force what only He can fix. Waiting is not passive, it's active faith. It's trusting that the God who started a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. It's believing that even in the silence He is speaking, even in the delay He is working, even in the confusion He is bringing clarity. And while you wait, trust that God knows what He's doing. Trust that God sees what you can't. Trust that even the pain has a purpose. God is not wasting your suffering. He is using it to carve out a deeper well of wisdom, compassion, and strength inside of you. Every tear is watering the soil of your future. Every trial is preparing the path to your destiny. You may feel like you're in a season of silence, but God is still speaking. You may feel like you're in a season of delay, but God is still moving. You may feel like you're in a season of defeat, but God is preparing your victory. Do not let the enemy convince you that your weariness is a sign that God has left you. The enemy attacks the hardest when he knows God is about to do something great. The tension you feel is the stretching of your faith. The exhaustion you feel is the refining of your spirit. And soon, very soon, God will step in with power. He will make a way where there was no way. He will lift you up out of the pit. He will breathe life into your dry bone. Because that is what God does. God restores, God revives, God renews. When all hope seems lost, God speaks a word and shifts everything. He doesn't need a crowd. He doesn't need applause. He only needs your faith. and your faith, no matter how small, is enough for God to move. You may be tired, but you are still chosen. You may be drained, but you are still called. You may be weak, but you are still being prepared. This tiredness you feel is not in vain. It is the process, and the process is proof that God is still working. He is the author of your story, and He writes with purpose. There is not a single sentence in your life that God does not use for your good. So press on, not in your own strength, but in the strength of God. Walk on, not because the road is easy, but because the one who walks with you is greater than anything that stands against you. Speak to your soul and say, God knows, God sees, God cares, God is near. And let that truth be your anchor in every storm. Even when it's hard to believe, choose to believe. Even when it's hard to hope, choose to hope. Even when you feel like quitting, choose to stay, not because of your own strength, but because of the unshakable truth that God has never lost a battle, not with anyone, not ever, and He will not lose with you. God knows you are tired, but He is not tired. He does not slumber. He does not grow weary. He holds the universe in His hands, and yet He holds your heart with the same care. So rest in Him. Rest in His promise. Rest in His plan. Rest in His presence. And let your tired soul be renewed, not by the removal of the storm, but by the realization that the God who calms the storm walks with you through it. You see, when your strength runs out, that is not the end. It is the threshold of divine power. That is where the natural ends and the supernatural begins. God does not require your perfection. He requires your surrender. God does not demand that you carry the weight of your world. He invites you to cast it upon Him. This is not weakness, it is wisdom. Wisdom to understand that your capacity has limits, but God is limitless. Your knowledge is partial, but God knows the full picture. And sometimes that tiredness in your soul is God's way of drawing you closer to His wisdom, His timing, His higher ways. There are moments when everything you built in your own strength will begin to crumble, not to destroy you, but to bring you to the foundation that cannot be shaken. God is not in the business of quick fixes and shallow comforts. God is in the business of transformation. When you are exhausted from carrying burdens that were never yours to bear, He doesn't just relieve you, He reshapes you. He removes what's unnecessary. He burns away what's temporary. He cuts away the distractions, the pride, the false dependencies, until all that remains is a vessel, ready to be filled with His power. Yes, the waiting is painful. Yes, the silence can feel unbearable. But do not confuse the silence of God with the absence of God. Sometimes the silence is His strategy. Sometimes God steps back not to forsake you, but to strengthen you, to grow your faith not by what you see, but by what you believe. It is in the darkness that trust is tested. It is in the delays that your devotion is refined. And in the stillness of the soul, God whispers the kind of truths that can only be heard when everything else is quiet. You may not understand why God hasn't answered your cry yet. You may feel like time is running out, that opportunities are slipping through your fingers. But understand this: God is never in a rush. God doesn't work according to human clocks. While you are watching the minutes pass, God is orchestrating eternity. While you are worried about what is slipping away, God is preparing what will never be taken from you. He is not just trying to give you relief. He is shaping your life into something eternal, something holy, something set apart. And if you could see what God is preparing in the invisible, you would stop doubting in the visible. If your eyes could catch just a glimpse of the angels He has assigned to walk with you, you would walk with boldness even in the middle of your fear. If your ears could hear the conversations God has had about your destiny, you would stop comparing yourself to those around you, and start honoring the journey He has handcrafted for you. There is no wasted moment in the hands of God, not a single tear, not a single heartbreak, not a single moment of loneliness is overlooked. Every step you've taken in pain has been recorded by the one who watches over your soul. Every sleepless night has been seen by the one who neither slumbers nor sleeps. And He will repay you not just with comfort, but with purpose. Not just with blessings, but with clarity. God does not owe you anything, yet in His mercy He chooses to restore everything. But restoration only comes to those who trust the process. Not the comfortable process, not the predictable process, but the divine process. A process that often looks like struggle before it looks like success. A process that often feels like breaking before it feels like blessing. But make no mistake, God is the master craftsman. He does not make mistakes with His tools. If He allows the pressure, it is to purify. If He allows the delay, it is to develop. If He allows the pain, it is to prepare. This is the hour to remember that tiredness does not mean defeat. It means you are human. It means you care deeply. It means you have been trying, praying, enduring. But now it's time to stop striving in your own strength and start abiding in God's strength. It's time to stop rehearsing your fears and start declaring your faith. It's time to remember that God did not bring you this far to leave you now. You are still here. That is the proof. You have been through storms that should have drowned you. You have faced trials that could have crushed you. But you're still breathing, still standing, still seeking God. And that is not by accident. That is grace, that is power, that is divine intervention working silently on your behalf. The enemy tried to steal your hope, but God preserved it. The enemy tried to make you quit, but God sustained you. The enemy tried to isolate you in your pain, but God met you there and whispered, "You are not alone." And no, you don't have to have all the answers. You don't need to understand the plan in full. All God asks is that you trust Him with the next step. Not the whole journey, just the next step. You don't need to see the whole staircase, just keep climbing. You don't need to map out the whole future, just stay faithful where you are. That is trust. That is faith. That is surrender. So when your body is weak, let your spirit speak louder. Say to yourself, God is still my strength. When your mind is racing with doubts, let your soul declare, God is still in control. When you feel like quitting, cry out, God, carry me. He will. Because He is not a distant force. He is an ever-present helper. He is not just watching from above. He is walking with you, dwelling in the moments you thought no one cared. And you may look around and think others have it easier. You may wonder why your road is harder, but your road is holy. Your struggle has weight because your calling has glory. Your pain is deep because your purpose is greater, and God is preparing you for what others cannot handle. Stop comparing your journey to those who were never meant to walk your path. God handpicked you for something sacred. Don't let fatigue rob you of that revelation. There is a holy fire being lit in the dark places of your soul. A fire that will not be extinguished by hardship. A fire that will not be drowned by despair. It is a fire of endurance, the fire of faith, the fire of spiritual authority that only comes from walking through the valley with God and discovering that He is enough, that is more than enough. You may not feel strong right now, but faith is not a feeling. Faith is a decision to believe when everything around you says it's over, a decision to hope when hope makes no logical sense, a decision to keep praying, not because of what you see, but because of what you believe God will do. That kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of faith silences the lies of fear. That kind of faith invites God to do the impossible. So no, you don't need to have it all together. You just need to stay connected to the one who holds it all together. You don't need to pretend to be strong. You just need to stay close to the source of strength. You don't need to understand everything. You just need to trust the one who does. God never sleeps. God never gives up. God never changes. And when everything in your world is shifting, shaking, falling apart, God remains the solid ground. You can build your hope on Him. You can anchor your soul in Him. You can place your future in His hands, and you will not be disappointed. So pray, even when your voice trembles, even when your faith feels small, even when your prayers feel unanswered. Pray, because prayer is not just communication, it is communion. It is alignment. It is surrender. And in surrender, there is peace. Not because your problems are gone, but because God is present in them. And wait, not passively, but expectantly. Wait not with fear, but with confidence that God has already prepared what your eyes have not yet seen. Wait because His timing is not just right, it is perfect. His delay is not denial, it is design. And trust. Trust when the wind howls and the waters rise. Trust when friends fail and doors close. Trust when everything in you wants to run, to fix, to control. Trust that the God who brought you to this point has not brought you here to abandon you, but to show you who He is. God knows you are tired, and He is not disappointed in your weariness. He is not frustrated with your weakness. He is near. He is ready. He is reaching toward you right now, not with condemnation, but with compassion, not with frustration, but with faithfulness. And if you reach back, if you give Him your tired soul, your broken dreams, your heavy heart, He will lift you. He will restore you. He will fill you again. Because God is not finished. God is still writing your story. And the chapter you're in may be hard, but it's not the last one. There is still purpose ahead. There is still joy ahead. There is still strength you've yet to walk in, blessings you've yet to see, and peace you've yet to feel. It's coming not because of your effort, but because of God's promise. And God always keeps His promises. There comes a point in every soul's journey when the darkness feels heavier than light, when the silence of the heavens feels louder than any shout, when the soul groans with words that can't be formed. That's not the end, that's the refining. That is where God meets you in ways that logic cannot explain. That is where faith matures, where trust is purified, and where you discover that God is not simply a refuge in times of ease, but a fortress in the hour of your greatest weakness. You learn that peace is not the absence of storms. Peace is the nearness of God while the storm rages on. You cannot measure God's presence by your emotions. Feelings are fleeting. They rise and fall like the tide. But the truth of God is constant. The truth is that He is always near to the brokenhearted. The truth is that God draws closer to the weary. The truth is that when you feel most abandoned, God is closest, carrying you through what you don't even realize would have crushed you without His grace. The battle you didn't see was already fought by the hand you didn't notice. That's how God works, quietly, deeply, and always with purpose. And what is that purpose? To mold you, to shape you, to anchor you so deeply in faith that no wind can uproot you. God is not concerned with quick comfort. He is after unshakable faith. He is after hearts that will not bow to pressure, souls that will not surrender to discouragement, and minds that will not collapse under confusion. God strengthens those who dare to wait when it would be easier to run. He empowers those who remain still when the world screams for motion. Because in that stillness, a voice greater than fear begins to rise. a voice that says, be still and know it, that God is in control, that God is aware, that nothing has escaped his notice. The long nights, the burdens